What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Kosko once again with our Jersey Flight interview series. This is number 4, and I'm pleased to be joined today by quarterback Danny Southwick. Danny, thanks for joining me, man. I know it's been a hectic time for everybody with the coronavirus pandemic going on. Of course, no football to be spoken of quite yet. But just to start out, once again, thanks for joining me. And just how are you and the family holding up right now during this hectic time?
We're doing well, man. I'm just, we're kind of holed up here in a little Philly apartment. This is my office right here. So you can see my bathroom. I got my weights there, got my toilet there. So I'm good. I got the extra, some diapers and some paper towels. So I'm stocked up. We'll survive. And things are going good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate that setup. I was going to say, is that like a door? Is that a shower behind it? Then all of a sudden, of course, it's now the de facto home office right now.
That's the gym. This is the office. The shower is the gym.
Shower's the gym. Makes sense. So you can rinse off right after you're done. That's pretty awesome. I'll take that any day. Just to start out, man, what's been the biggest challenge of dealing with this? I know, obviously you have a de facto home office and gym right now. In terms of from the football standpoint as well, what's been going through your head as to what's been the most challenging thing with this whole pandemic right now?
Well, the toughest part for any team is we haven't gotten on the field, we haven't thrown with each other, so that it's going to be a quick transition once we finally can. Once this virus goes away, and hopefully that'll be sooner than later, we can get out there and start getting in chemistry. But this is a new team, in the sense that we're new to the NAL, and a lot of the guys haven't played with each other yet, and so I think that's the biggest challenge. Is the lack of playing time. But hopefully we can take advantage of it now and use this time to be disciplined and get in good shape and be ready to go when it's time to get on the field.
So what have you been doing exactly in terms of keeping in shape? I know we talked to Warren Smith last week, your fellow quarterback, and he's just been throwing with some of his high school guys, obviously at a socially acceptable distance. Everyone's wearing gloves and just tossing around the field. He said he used the hockey rink as well. I mean, what have you been doing? Have you been throwing into like a tire or something? I know you're probably at least working out, at least in body weight.
Yeah, it's been more difficult for me. So I'm in Philadelphia. You can't even go outside without a mask here in the city. I'm pretty close to Center City, and my high school guys are in Utah, so I don't have a ton of opportunity to throw. I do find ways to get drops in, to go through progressions and kind of keep my body moving in that way, work out at the house, that sort of thing. I threw, quite a bit. Thankfully I had a good offseason of throwing leading up to, when we had the lockdown. So I guess my arm will be well and rested by the time camp rolls around.
So let's dive into your career a little bit. You've been an arena football veteran for over a decade now. You had a little short stint with the Oakland Raiders as well in the NFL. I mean, just go into and tell the fans about your career, just kind of how you got into indoor football, the transition from the outdoor game to the indoor game, and vice versa, and just how you've been able to maintain a successful career for over a decade.
Yeah, so I've had a long journey and a long-suffering wife who's traveled with me all over the country. It's been documented. I think there's an arena fan thread. So for those of you who don't know, Arena Fan was it was kind of a go-to spot for AFL football for a lot of years. And there's an Arena Fan thread I've heard. I haven't, but that has that documents my journeys. And I don't know how many cities I've been in. Something like 20 places. It's a long history, and some grimy hotels and some nice ones too. But yeah. So my football journey has been really meaningful to me in the sense that I feel like I've learned a lot of life lessons. And so, I'll just start at the top so you can kind of get a picture of kind of what motivates me to play, at 38 years old. And I started, going to college. I had a lot of opportunities, a lot of D1 scholarships, Penn State and, big schools, Tennessee and Oregon, Pac-10 and places like that. And I ended up signing with Brigham Young University. Went on a mission for my church, came home, decided to go to Oregon State. Dennis Erickson was the coach, and he left. And then there came a point in my career where I worked really hard to get where I was to get those scholarships, but then where I started to kind of believe that what made me successful was that I was talented, or so that's what coaches told me, And so what I did is when the coach didn't recognize that I thought I was talented earlier on, and I was a knucklehead, but when he didn't recognize that, I would leave, So I went to Dixie State College, and then I went to the University of Utah, and then back to Dixie State, and then to Occidental. And somewhere along the line, as I'm not doing how I was supposed to do, I was like, maybe the problem isn't the 17 schools I've been through. Maybe the problem is something that's, I'm not playing how I should, or I'm not having enough grit to tough it out. So kind of my senior year, I got my act together, started getting really into, psychology and, personal development literature, and kind of changed my mindset, and decided I was going to just pursue a pro career, even though like I was the backup for a lot of I did play, but I was the backup for a lot of the year at Occidental, which is a D3 school that has like no fans, and, it's like nobody knows what they are. And I got an opportunity to play for the Louisville Fire, who's like, was this Arena 2 football team, $200 a game, was like nothing. And I had worked really hard my last year of college, and like started to be where like I was able to kind of show some of the same things maybe I was showing in high school that got me those opportunities. And so I beat out the guys at Louisville. And then I started working out with some NFL guys that offseason. I was hoping to get in the AFL. The AFL folded in 2009. So now I've seen the AFL fold twice in my career. The AFL folded in 2009. So I started working out with some NFL guys in LA. One of those guys was Austin Collie, who played with the Colts for a few years. And he asked me to throw for him at his pro day at BYU. And I threw for him. And by now I hadn't missed a day of throwing for like a couple of years. And I was really throwing well. The ball was coming out of my hand. And a couple of teams, were interested in me. The Oakland Raiders ended up signing me and seeing what would happen. And it was like a developmental thing. And like some of the guys wanted me there. Some of the guys didn't want me there. And I ended up being with the organization for 2 years. Even though I was only on the roster for 6 weeks, and the Oakland Raiders, they play by different rules. I don't know what it's like now with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sure they're playing by all the rules now, but they kept me there for 2 years, and I would kind of like, throw to guys. And bottom line is that coaches changed again. Nothing really ever panned out. And then so I went back to the Arena Football League, played at the Tampa Bay Storm, but now I've kind of had a different attitude. So even though I was bouncing around a lot of teams in college, I also bounced around a lot of teams in the Arena League, but not by choice. It's just like, I'd be with a team, and either the coach would change, or I wouldn't get an opportunity the next year. Or a lot of times teams folded. I mean, the LA Kiss folded, the Cleveland Gladiators folded, the Orlando. It's like, don't sign this. Trust me, it's not a sign for fans of Jersey Flight. I'm sure I'll be here for many years, but I've been a lot of teams that have been there 1 year and gone the next. But I decided I quit so many times in college. I don't want to quit anymore, and I wanted to see how long I could play this game, how long I could play it well, and that's why I'm still playing. Thankfully, my wife has let me do that, and I've been able to find other sources of stability and income for the family in addition to playing ball. So anyway, that's what keeps me motivated. I really just I had an interview I don't know, a few months ago. I was like, what keeps me motivated is to see how good I can get. I don't think like you have to plateau when you're 38 years old. And I feel like if I could get in the same system for a few years, I could do much better than I've done in the past. And so that's what motivates me. It's like, how can I get better, and can I prove something to myself as to what's possible, So,
and it seemed like
long answer.
Yeah, I mean, no, of course. I mean, just monitoring you last year too. Obviously, with the final year of the AFL last year, you bounced around with Columbus and Philadelphia, and just watching you last year from our Atlantic City Blackjacks perspective, it seems like you were like you're like that stable veteran, whether you're a backup or starter, that a team wants you on their roster just because of the experience, and like they see like the wealth of knowledge you bring to the table just immensely helps the quarterback room.
I mean, I think it's been a plus that look. I mean, the bad side is I haven't been on a team for a long period of time, so maybe that's a knock. It's like, well, why can't you stay with the team? The good side is teams keep signing me, right? So like I must be adding value in some way, hopefully, to these teams, and I think it's that. I like with the Cleveland, the Columbus Destroyers. I had 2 practices with them and started the first game of the year at Albany. Didn't go well. But they called me because they had a rookie quarterback. They didn't feel like he was ready, and they wanted me to play. And then after that, they had some health problems with my stepdad. I missed a couple of games. They ended up going. They realized they weren't going to win many games. They weren't going to like a youth movement. And then I got picked up by the Soul, but kind of the same reason. Like one of their quarterbacks went down. I was like, who can we call that could be ready to play in a moment's notice? And I feel like I've been, for whatever reason, on the top of people's mind in terms of someone that's had enough experience to go in and step in pretty much any offense and at least be relatively effective.
What's it like playing with Warren, who's going to be in that same quarterback room with you? Obviously, he's another guy who's bounced around a little bit in a couple different leagues. He played for Atlantic State last year. That's how I got to know him and watched him play. He's played in the other leagues as well before. He's played in this league as well before. But he's another one of those guys that's just – it seems like you both of you guys are both plug in and play type of quarterbacks. Like you can pick up a system in a matter of weeks, and all of a sudden – you're throwing for 7 touchdowns in one game. So what's it like working alongside him in the quarterback room?
So Warren and I mean, it's like we've been on enough teams. I guess it's our second time being on a team together. Maybe we've been on each other's teams more than that.
No, you lose track at some point.
Like we're bound to bump into each other at some point. So I don't know Warren extremely well. I know that everyone that ever has spoken about Warren has spoken very highly of him. He's a team player. He's a really hard worker. He's done, when he's, like you said, when he's gotten his opportunities, he's gone in there and played well. And so I think, from my standpoint, there's a lot of respect for Warren and what he brings to the table. And it'll be, a good competition. I think we have a good collaborative. We've had a handful of meetings, and Warren and I have been able to be in one meeting so far together, even though we've had meetings separately, I think a couple times. But Warren, he's a collaborative guy and genuinely wants to help. So I'm looking forward to being on his team and working together towards the championship for sure.
What's it like for you working with a whole new set of wide receivers? I mean, even if you've played with some of these guys, maybe in a brief moment here or there in the past couple of years, what's it like as a quarterback, especially in this league where the intricacies of an offense are a little bit different from the outdoor games? There's a lot of tight windows, it's a lot of spacing, it's a lot of timing. What's it like for you as a quarterback to a new team doing this it seems like all over again with a whole new group of wide receivers this year, particularly in this climate where it's a little more difficult because you're basically doing your playbook virtually and you're saying, okay, this is what I want you to do when we finally get on the practice field.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that is our biggest challenge right now. It was already going to be our biggest challenge. Now I'm guessing potentially with a abbreviated training camp, it's going to be even harder. A lot of other teams are dealing with the same thing, so we don't have an excuse in that regard. But we're going to have to work at it. We're going to have to grind. And the goal is that, with each week we can get better. So hopefully where we are on week 1 is we're light years ahead of that in, week 8 or 9 or however many weeks we get this year. And it's going to be a challenge, no doubt. When you look at the teams that have done really well, those are teams that have found the way to keep consistency. So there's some ways we can do that. We can stay healthy. We got to make sure we're taking care of our bodies and staying healthy. We can, just as a unit, try to, make sure we're putting in extra time in the film room, being together, and hopefully throughout that process, we can just get a little more familiarity with one another. And, you'd like to have 2 years, but you don't always need 2 years. You don't always need 3 years. Sometimes guys can pop in and they're like make immediate impact. And, that should be our focus. We shouldn't make it like that we have a bogey, it's like we shouldn't be like, that's what it's called in golf. I don't play golf, but bogey.
Yeah, bogey.
A bogey. Yeah, we shouldn't be like, you shouldn't expect us to be good just yet, so give us the breaks. Like we should expect to be on point right from day one, and that's the standard we have to set as a team, and we're just gonna work really hard to get there.
Does it help knowing that even though you guys are meeting virtually, but you're talking, a couple times a week or however many times you meet in terms of just, as just to get together or you go over a film session, does it help knowing that chemistry might be aided by just getting a mental grasp for each other, and then that chemistry is suddenly already there by the time you do it in the football field?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that can replace being on the field, for sure. Nothing that can replace being in the locker room next to a guy. But I think having, knowing one another is helpful. I think it's tough to get to know guys real well. I look forward to developing relationships with the guys on the team. I know some of them, played with several of them. But I look forward to getting to know the guys better and, breaking bread with them and doing the things that good teams do together, which is, develop, good, solid, kind of like a brotherhood. Right. And so, but I think, there is a level of comfort in the sense that, I've played for Coach Payton before. I'm very familiar with his offense, and I kind of know what he's expecting. And so in that sense, I don't feel like there's a lot of question in my head, what I'm supposed to be doing. The other thing too is just like in the NFL, it's like 80% of the playbooks in the NFL are the same. There's 20% that's different that makes the team unique. It's the same thing in the AFL, except maybe it's 90% is similar. And Coach Payton does some unique things. But but ultimately arena football is, successful arena football hasn't changed that much for a long, long time. It's like, you got to stretch zones. You got to get the ball out of your hand. Got to find a way to win in man-to-man situations. And that's all going to be the same for all of us. So even though we're new to each other, the principles of the game, especially for the veterans, and we have a lot of veterans on this team, should be ingrained by the time we, already.
You say you were familiar with this system. Was that one of your biggest reasons why you decided to pick Jersey and try to sign with them for this season? I know, again, for those who didn't remember, the AFL did fold after the 2019 season, so a lot of those AFL guys were scattered, whether they were going to go to the NAL or they were going to rejoin the IFL or even the AAL, or just go somewhere if they're going to continue to play football. What was your deciding factor to picking the NAL and picking Jersey for the 2020 season?
Well, I think the NAL. So I think the NAL is the best brand of arena football right now. So like the IFL is kind of a totally different game. I wouldn't be, I don't think a good fit for the IFL, because the IFL is like a lot of like read zone type things. It's a different game. I think that the brand of football that the AFL had and now the NAL is continuing this tradition is the best. It's the original game, and that's why you see a lot of like the top quarterbacks that left the AFL, like the Arvell Nelsons, a lot of those guys, that they're starting on teams here. I don't need to go through the whole list, but they're playing the NAL for a reason, and that's because this is traditional arena football. So that was one thing. I knew I wanted to play in a league like this. If it wasn't going to be the AFL, my goal was actually to get back, and I talked to Coach Dozell about this. My goal was actually to go back with the Philadelphia Soul, because I live in Philadelphia. I'm a student, grad student at the University of Pennsylvania, and it didn't make a ton of sense for my family to like go across the country. So part of making it work when you're 38 is finding a way for it to work for your family and your other priorities in life. And so I talked with Coach Foster this offseason. I was like, if things don't work out in the AFL for whatever reason, I will be interested in playing for this team. He actually contacted me, and I told him I'd be interested. The other NAL team that contacted me was Carolina, and Coach Payton was the coach. And I know Coach Payton for years. He was my first arena football coach, offensive coordinator, like 2008. And we go back a long ways, and he coached me in 2015. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to be Carolina or New Jersey, but it's probably going to have to be New Jersey, only because it wouldn't make sense for me to go someplace else. And I respected Coach Foster. And then when Coach Payton came over, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I know the offense. I've heard great things about Coach Foster. He has a great arena career. Coach Ozell speaks the world of both Coach Foster and Coach Payton. And it's 30 minutes from my house. All signs point, to yes. So that's ultimately why I decided to play here. And then like after I signed, we got like all of these great linemen, and we got all these our team is really we put together a good squad. So I'm very excited, happy with the decision, excited made it.
We'll get back on that in a second. You mentioned you're a grad student at UPenn, and not many people can say they're a grad student at an Ivy League school. What are you, for the fans out there, what are you studying right now at UPenn?
So I study research psychology and performance and expertise in particular. So I told you in college I was like a knucklehead, right? And I was trying to figure out what was going on with myself. And I think part of what saved me is I started to gravitate towards, a lot of information that kind of helped me figure out like where I screwed up, and that became a passion of mine. Just I would always kind of like read stuff and always kind of like read books to support my football career. And then like eventually it got to the point where I'd read so many books, I was like, well, might as well get a master's degree. So I got a master's degree at Penn, and then I met a professor there who I developed a great relationship with, who studies grit. She studies it's like passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Her name's Angela Duckworth, and she works with like professional sports teams and is very respected psychologist. And she mentioned that there might be a possibility that I could be her grad student, and it was a total left turn. I thought I was done with school with a master's degree, but then I got that opportunity, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for this. And so even though I was way old when I got into grad school, I got in, and it's been a wonderful decision, and I love what I do both on and off the field. So.
What do you have post football plans to do something with whatever you obtain in grad school? It seems like the way you're going to go once you finally hang up your helmet and cleats.
Yeah, 10 years or so from now when I retire, 15 years, I will likely, not likely, I will certainly try to go like the research psychology route. So I'd love to work at a university, research, try to understand more about what helps people reach levels of ability, capability that they, really didn't think were possible, or that are beyond, what people expect. And that's what I'm super passionate about. And so, yeah, the goal would be to end up at some kind of university, continue to study this, work with pro sports teams, work with high school, not so much as a coach. Maybe I'll coach my kids or whatever, but really just as someone who's trying to understand what leads to greatness. That's a all-consuming question in my life that I think about a lot.
So as far as leading towards greatness, based on what you've seen so far, again, the practice field, you guys haven't been out there yet, but when you guys do, and based on what the team has put together on paper, you and Warren in the quarterback room, we talked with Brandon Renford, one of your wide receivers, last week as well, Milton Williams, just name just a few guys among a handful of a team that looks absolutely stacked on paper for this league. In your mind, is this a championship caliber team at this moment? Of course, the work has been put in, and of course, you actually have to hit the field. But I mean, that was, again, I think you mentioned it before. That was one of your deciding factors, saying, hey, the coach is aligned. I know the system. I know the guys. This is the best situation for me.
Yeah, look, we expect to be very competitive. Like becoming a championship caliber team. Like I'd rather show it than talk it. I think we have to show it to ourselves and come up to camp and put the work in, and it's no one's going to give it to us. A lot of good teams. Massachusetts stacked, Jacksonville stacked, Orlando's put together. Half my receivers that were with the Philadelphia Soul are now in Orlando. I was trying to recruit them. I was like, "What are you guys doing?" We got receivers here too, and it's gonna look. The NAL has never been better. It's basically the AFL right now. And fans are in for like some really high quality football. You got guys that have cut from NFL teams, play. You got guys that are in the NAL that are going to be in the NFL next year. That's what as a fan, that's what you're going to come see. And we want to win. Like there's no doubt. Like everybody wants to win the championship. But right now, I think you have to focus on the process, let the outcome take care of itself. So right now, we just have to stay in good shape, make sure we're ready when camp comes. When camp comes, we have to just one day at a time, build chemistry, grow. And look, there's going to be ups and downs this season, So like, if all you're thinking about is the championship and you lose a couple of games, we're not going to get there. No, it's not about that. It's like Bill Belichick. What do they say? On to Cincinnati, right? It's like you have to just string together. He says you string together good days, and we haven't had one good day yet, so we have to start stringing together good days. And I think our fans can expect a real good product on the field, and yeah, we know where we want to be at the end of the year for sure.
Well, Dan, thanks for joining me. I'll leave you here with this one. I asked Warren and Brandon this last week. What is the craziest workout you have done, or the most unique workout you've done so far in quarantine, where you would probably never do if you had access to a gym or a football field?
What is the craziest workout? So I don't know that I've done a bunch of crazy. So I kind of have like a regular routine that I go through. Oh, I'll tell you the craziest workout is. I have my 5-year-old son chase me around like a lineman, and he's as fast as some of the defensive linemen. Sorry, guys, you guys aren't that fast. Especially.
Oh, that's great.
So I will, drop back and I'll kind of like see him and move, and that's one way that we get out and get our workout in together. So that's probably the most janky form of like coronavirus football is having my 5-year-old son be. And then my wife too, she got super mad at me the other day because what happens is they play me. It's my son and my wife against me. And she's very competitive. She's very competitive. And and then I'm competitive, and I wasn't going to let her win, because why would you ever let your wife win? I mean, who would ever do that? And so I went to grab her, and like I almost shoved her into the fence, and then that started a problem. So that's probably been the most irregular thing. But I mean, in-home workouts are never the best, but you can get good stuff, and you can get your heart rate up and stay in shape. So yeah.
Yeah, I was doing nothing quite like that the other day, but I definitely got my heart rate up with a little backyard workout while everyone's trying to stay sane. Well, I'll tell you what, maybe your son will get a contract in about 10 years from Jersey or something. Be able to chase you around like that. All right, Danny, I appreciate you joining me, man. Once again, just stay safe, give the best to the family as well, and hopefully we see you on the practice field hopefully soon, and we get the season kicked off in June, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be great, man. Let's hope for it. Okay, great talking to you, man. See
All
you.
right, thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. That's Danny Southwick, one of the quarterbacks for the Jersey Flight. I am Nick Kosko saying so long. We will have this posted up shortly, of course. That was part 4 of our Jersey Flight interview series. We will see you next time.